What does the Pinocchio lizard have a long outgrowth on its nose? How do hornbills show their trust to the partner? How does the smallest parrot on our planet look? You'll learn this. In this episode, I'll tell you about the rarest and interesting animals in the world. Tamaraw. Our first guest is also known as the Tamaraw or the Mindoro dwarf buffalo. It's an unusual cloven-hoofed mammal considered the largest of the island buffalo. Endemic to the Philippines, it looks a bit like an antelope and lacks upper incisors. The Tamaraw is a herbivorous creature with a multiple compartmental stomach. The most interesting thing about it is that this buffalo went beyond and stopped following the herd. Yes, you could integrate some motivational advertising here, but the Tamaraw is a bit different. An animal without a herd instinct became what it is now because of a rigid character, but because of a simple change in habitat. On a sparsely populated island covered with dense jungle, these creatures feel just magical, even though there are no longer lawns to eat together. Although, who says they need them at all? Over the course of evolution, the horns of these creatures have grown back, so now they don't touch thickets. And the same thick fur protects the Tamaraw's body from accidental branch scratches. The effect of island dwarfism is not spared the Tamaraw either. The buffalo is only about 3.5 feet tall and weighs 660 pounds. To keep in shape, our guest has to regularly eat calorific plants like succulent grains, bamboo, and sugarcane. And here you would think that these creatures have spread all over the island and everyone eats grass on their native land. But no, Tamaraws are extremely secretive guys who are very hard to find. It would have been a different matter if they had hidden from people only, but they hide even from animals of their own kind. We were talking about some kind of herd mentality in the beginning. Despite their attempt to dodge the public eye and keep their heels intact, these creatures are in danger of extinction. They're being hunted, forests are being cut down, and the livestock brought into these areas is considered a carrier of diseases. People, as usual, are trying to smooth the water. So far, it's been difficult to do so. I hope that at some point, the biggest Tamaraw will appear in the forest and lead its shy brethren. It'll make them start grazing together again, protecting each other and defending their territories. Although, you know, if you believe this picture I found on the web, such a male has already appeared. According to experts, a bull like this is born once every 10,000 years. He has abnormal size and, consequently, almost limitless power. Do you think he could be real? Well, let's leave it to the scientists to deal with this monster. Let them analyze the photo, determine its authenticity, that sort of thing. Let's have a look at the pygmy parrots. They are definitely real, and they can surprise no less. By the way, I called them parrots for a reason. These birds are considered to be the smallest representatives of their group. Their body length does not exceed 4 inches. Even a sparrow is almost twice as big. However, our guests differ from their full-size brethren not only in size. They're real hermits that have inhabited the territory of New Guinea and neighboring islands. The habitat of these parrots is a dense, high jungle. Similar creatures usually unite in groups and live in families, protect each other, delegate responsibilities. However, these feathered creatures went a slightly different way. Birds do not gather in large groups. Most often they live in couples. Their hobby is tree climbing. The birds spend all their lives on trees, fluttering from one tree to another. Moreover, pygmy parrots do not like to flap their wings. They prefer to walk on vertical surfaces of tree trunks, in which they're reliably helped by tenacious paws with very long claws, as well as beak that acts as a support and tail used as a balancer. But all these are not the only distinctive features of our guest. Among other things, as some scientists say, the woodpecker parrot feeds mainly on mushrooms and lichens. Yes, of course, it does not do without tree sap or insects, but still, mushrooms are in the first place. That's why, by the way, pygmy parrots are considered to be those creatures that cannot be tamed. Alas, but it is too difficult to find suitable food for them. Wombats. If you knew how long I've been wanting to tell you about these guys. However, there was no time. Wombats are a family of marsupial mammals from Australia. That already tells us that they're very unusual characters. Australia isn't home to some classic and uninteresting creatures, is it? Well, wombats love to dig burrows and look like a dwarf bear or an overly large hamster. Their body length can vary from 2.5 feet to 4.5 feet and weight from 44 to almost 100 pounds. Locals love wombats so much that they name objects of nature and cities in their honor, put their images on money, make marsupial heroes of fairy tales and TV shows. And you know, the locals are very easy to understand. After all, it's not every day that you meet a creature whose main weapon is not its claws, not its deadly jaws, and not even its long teeth, but its bottom. It's armored in wombats. So it's always the first to be set up. No matter who may attack our guest, they'll all be met in the same way. If the enemy's too strong, the wombat will go to plan B. It'll run away. It'll burrow into the hole, and it'll cover the entrance with its bottom. It won't be easy to bite it, so predators will think twice about whether they need this at all. Often the effort it takes to get a wombat out of its burrow doesn't even come close to justifying the cost. Fun theory, there's a belief that wombats can break the skulls of their enemies with the same body part. They hide in their burrow and crouch down as if to allow their enemies to stick their head down. Then they stand up sharply and hit their opponent's nose or beak, causing serious damage. I don't know how true this is, but it sounds very unusual. About as much as their principle of communicating with each other sounds. Scientists have determined that wombats communicate through sounds, smells, and marking their territory with excrements. The latter are shaped like cubes and parallelopipeds. No one crumples them. It turns out by itself because of the digestive system. Unusual marsupial mammals eat only grass, which usually take up to several weeks to digest. During this time, the wombat's organism has time to extract all useful substances and maximize moisture from them, and the shape of the cube is formed due to the different degrees of rigidity of the walls of the rectum. Passing the whole cycle of processing, the waste will be compressed from above, from below, and from the side. The resulting bricks will be stacked on top of each other and used as a beacon to inform their fellow mammals. All right, now I suggest that we move on to unusual bed bugs. Tell me, do you think they can be beautiful? Or are bed bugs just like bed bugs? It's not about them. That's right, I used to think so too, but the lace bugs turned my head. They're very beautiful, sophisticated, unusual, and aesthetically pleasing insects. Their length does not exceed 0.2 inches. However, this is enough to enjoy their appearance. Of course, with the help of a magnifying glass or other method of magnification. These flying creatures have transformed their unsightly elytra into a skillful weave of fine lines. The fragile, lacy bodies shimmer in the sun, glowing with silver, black, brown, and yellow hues. You get the impression they've come for a fashion show or something. But no, they need it primarily for camouflage. Some of these bugs dissolve into the foliage, pretending to be plant veins. Others glow in the sun, becoming a clone of a dewdrop. And still others have wings that work like an invisibility cloak. According to unconfirmed reports, the lace bugs did not achieve this skill immediately. It took them over 100 million years. It was in those ancient times, by the way, that the first flowering plants appeared on planet Earth, and the lace bugs immediately thought of how they could be used. They began to seek them out and pierce them with their tiny trunk, sucking out all the juices. Also, to make life more fun, these creatures have learned to engage in collective pest control. They find their target and call for help from all their fellow creatures. Brothers will fly in at a moment's notice. Despite this, our guests have more than enough enemies. What surprises me even more, they have an ally. I'm talking about an ant. Ants protect certain species of lace bugs, and in return for their help, they share with them the sweet sap they extract from the plants. Hornbills. In general, very strange alliances often occur in nature. In addition, many living creatures simply behave very unusually, and hornbills are one of them. What their males are capable of, you can't even imagine. I'll tell you about it a little later. For now, let's just take a closer look at hornbills. I think it's no secret why they got this name. It's all about their huge and especially long beaks that they sharply bent downwards and have significant outgrowths of different shapes at their base. In order to hold such a serious weapon on its head, the hornbill has pumped up its neck muscles quite well. Of course, first of all, this all applies to males, and as it seems it cannot help but please females. On the whole, it does, at least at first. When the male's courtship is just beginning, he behaves very nicely and properly like a true gentleman. He walks around, brushes his feathers, and gets tasty fresh fruit for the female. With this behavior, he not only pleases the female but also shows that he's able to feed the future family. If the female agrees, they'll have a night of love and choose a home together. It seems that the female hornbill lives in a fairy tale. It's not the case. It's at this point that the whole fantastic vibe is cut short, and everyday life becomes hellish. And all because the male immures the female and her unborn cubs alive in this very new flat. He leaves them only a small crevice through which they will receive a minimum of light and a little oxygen. Oh yeah, and it's also through this slit that the male will pass food to the mother and her offspring. The poor creatures can live locked up for weeks or even months until they become extremely cramped. Fortunately, at least the female does not die during this period. After all the horrors of confinement, the male will finally break down the wall and release his family, and the mother will not hold a grudge. Together with the father, she'll lead the cubs to adulthood and go to prepare herself for a new mating period. West African Potto. This is the name of the unusual species of primate I'm about to tell you about. They live in tropical Africa and, alas, are considered quite vulnerable. The West African Potto is a very small monkey that can easily fit in your arms. However, it's not easy to take it in your hands. The thing is that they live in high trees, in places where land predators usually do not reach. The period of activity of the Potto is the dark time of day. This primate will unmistakably determine the right path. It's not even the moon that will lead him, but his fingers. By the way, the Potto lacks one of his fingers. This is not a mistake of nature and not the result of unsuccessful hunting. This structure of the hand makes the grip of the primate steel. This primate cannot be torn away from the branch even by brute force. Speaking of his force, our guest regularly uses it himself and attacks small birds or bats, although the basis of his diet still consists of insects and fruits. Despite such a seemingly peaceful diet, the Potto is not a bad guy, and no one is in a hurry to attack him. It's all about his neck knob. This is where spines and whiskers stick out from. The first one is an additional defense against sharp attacks, and the second is the vibrissae, one of the main organs of touch which help to orientate in space. Pinocchio lizard. You might think that the long nose of our next creature is a similar organ that helps it understand that everything's going on around it. No, the Pinocchio lizard has a different role. This lizard is endemic to Ecuador and was first discovered in 1953. Of course, no one could understand who it was and why it had such a long nose. Fate did not give a second chance. The Pinocchio lizard faded from view and did not show itself for the next 50 years. Scientists had already written it off as extinct, but suddenly a miracle happened. This lizard was encountered again, and this time they were able to harvest it. There, people found out that the motley coloring camouflages Pinocchio lizards in the grass, and it was because it was so difficult to detect. Wide feet of the animal given the ability to crawl through the trees in any direction, disregarding the force of gravity. It's also active only at night, which also affects its survival rate. Given all of the above, I can't imagine how the experts found it. However, it turned out the way it did. The Pinocchio lizard was on the table in front of the specialists and kept the last secret. What's the essence of its long nose? It turns out that the size of the lizard's horn is regulated by the rush of blood. The more excited the Pinocchio lizard is, the more tense its horn is. This horn is also used in reproduction, as it's considered an ideal indicator of the male's health. It is by its size that females choose a suitable mate. Hairless bat. Our next guest is unlikely to boast a large size as it's a bat, and it doesn't have any fascinating outgrowths on its body either. It's actually bald. But despite all this, the hairless bat survives well, and its population is the least of our worries. The night hunter lives in colonies and flies very fast. It's because it was one of the first to realize that hairs are what increase air resistance and, as a result, reduce flight speed. The evolution of the hairless bat went in the direction of better aerodynamics, and as a result, the bat ended up bald. According to some reports, our guest is able to accelerate up to 60 miles an hour. It also has huge and sharp fangs which come in handy during attacks. And in order to continue to flutter like a butterfly and sting like a bee, the hairless bat regularly lubricates its wings with a kind of cream that's produced in the gular sac. According to experts who have personally met the hairless bat, this cream smells simply disgusting. Knickers. A farm is the kind of place that has no leniency for one animal or another. At least, that's what most people think. But there are cases in history that disprove this theory. Let's take Knickers, for example. This is the name of the already legendary bull, which stands out from the crowd with its size. He's so big that he's taller than even famous basketball players. He's almost 6.5 feet tall and weighs about 1.5 tons. Usually, such large creatures are immediately sent to slaughter, but Knickers became an exception to the rule. His owner thought it would be an abomination to let him become meat. Nature has gifted the bull with an incredible feature, large size, and unique color. So let's enjoy it while we have the opportunity. The owner didn't sell Knickers, even though he was offered a lot of money, nor did he want to deal with him personally. Rumor had it that the bull had grown so much that no technology could handle him properly. There was a risk of breakage, so the huge creature was left alive. But I still believe in the nobility of the man. Time passed on the farm and Knickers got stronger. He was a sort of leader for the other cows. The females loved him very much, always followed him, and he successfully obeyed his owner and thus helped him twice as much. It's impossible not to mention such a benefit as the Knickers' size. Thanks to it, the owner of the farm can always see his herd from any distance. This black and white bull can be seen even at night. Unfortunately, due to undisclosed circumstances, the legendary bull was not able to reproduce, so it's unlikely that someone remotely similar to him will be born in the near future. But other data was shared with the public, data on the subject of the bull's growth. Due to congenital features, Knickers had insufficient hormone production. This turned off the mechanism of regulating the intensity of growth, with its subsequent cessation after reaching the norm. Meanwhile, this beautiful creature fellow has a great appetite. He consumes 66 pounds of grain and grass every day. Hit the like button if you also feel sorry for the wallet of the owner of the farm. Blossom. But it's not just bulls that can grow up to an amazing size. Cows also do not stay away, and the beautiful Blossom enters the arena. 6.2 feet from the ground to the scruff of the neck can amaze everyone. This animal of the Holstein breed lived in the American state of Illinois and was famous for giving 10.5 gallons of milk a day. For you to understand, the value of ordinary cows at the best of times is less by as much as 2 times. Scientists from all over the world were immediately interested in this animal and wanted to study Blossom and find out how to achieve something like this, because in their opinion, this is exactly what agriculture should strive for. It's unclear whether they were able to find out anything about it. After all, the cow passed away in 2015. During her life, she managed to become one of the tallest cows in the world, even entering the Guinness Book of Records. At the time, her height was 6.3 feet. Knickers, Blossom are all unique 1 in a million creatures. But what should people do under normal conditions? For example, which cow should they take if they want to get the most benefit from it? Well, one of the largest breeds in the world is the Chianina. Its ancestors appeared as early as 1500 BC, as evidenced by various drawings and chronicles. In the beginning, they were used as sacrificial livestock. Later, with the emergence of the Roman Empire, the goals and objectives changed. The horned ones were adapted as draft animals, which determined a strict and sometimes cruel selection. Only large and muscular animals with strong legs and very easy disposition were suitable for heavy work. Formed snow-white giants were praised by many ancient poets, and their images were immortalized in the form of ancient sculptures. A little more time passed, and even the need to use them as a plow for people also disappeared. Now they had no choice but to use the breed as a first-class source of marbled beef. Well, what'd you want? A huge 6-foot bull weighing about 1.5 tons should be useful. The young of these creatures develop so fast that they gain 2 to 4 pounds every day. However, it should be taken into account that they're not suitable for giving milk. It's completely consumed by them themselves to feed their calves. Careful attitude to calves and a fantastic genetic background make many farmers literally hunt for cows of this breed. No wonder it's considered the national pride of the whole of Italy. And while I'm on the subject of farmers, on which cows they look for and which cows they choose, let's find out exactly what the animal breeding process looks like. Stay tuned, it's going to be interesting. Premises. Any business, whether it's a coffee shop or an accounting firm, should be started with the choice of premises. The farm's no exception. On the contrary, it needs a suitable place like nothing else. At least 10,000 square feet are needed for it to be organized. According to the standard, 215 square feet should be given to one cow, and 100 square feet should be given to one calf. This is enough to accommodate a warehouse, a summer paddock, a cowshed, inventory, and a feed base. The farms themselves are built of different materials, usually brick, shell rock, or adobe. The floors on farms are almost always wooden, so it's easier and at the same time warmer. Equipment. Once the area is done, it's time to install the equipment. No matter how skillful and strong a person is, it's unlikely that they'll be able to serve a whole large farm alone. So if we're talking about a dairy farm of 50 cows, people cannot do without automatic machines. This will increase startup costs, but in the end, it will optimize basic work processes and save on wages for a large staff. The first thing to buy is stalls made of zinc pipes. Then you buy scales, a milking unit, and a milk pipe, which is a tank for your future treasure, as well as everything necessary for feeding the cows. That is teats, feeders, trays, buckets, and warmers. And if by preliminary calculations you think that you've already paid a lot, this business is not for you. After all the main money will go exactly on the purchase of livestock. Young animals cost about $265 per individual. A dairy cow's price starts from $850. That is, the starting capital for a herd of 50 heads is more than $40,000. It's important to understand that by buying mostly young animals, you'll save money, but the terms of implementation will significantly expand. Feed. Cows will need a lot of feed. Even if they're not record-breaking or outstanding breeds, on average, you'll spend about 35 pounds of feed per day per cow. Bull management. The situation's a little different with bulls. In their case, the quality and principle of their housing plays a special role. During the warm season, they need a daily walk. It's not recommended to keep them in the stall permanently, although in this way they gain weight very quickly. Confinement makes them aggressive and contributes to various diseases. It's also important to keep their house completely clean, because only in this case the meat will be the most tender, tasty, and high quality. If the method of keeping bulls on a leash is chosen, you'll need to take care of high-quality equipment since they can show aggression. In the stall, the individuals should be well secured. The advantages of this method are that the farmer will have the opportunity to assess the condition of the animal, make various measurements, and veterinary examinations. But again, no matter how you choose to take care of the animals, it's critically important to choose the right breeds for your farm. The Hereford, for example, is common all over the world. Its clear advantage is its quick acclimatization and adaptation to new environments. These cows grow well and are also known for their great reproductive performance. The Aberdeen Angus is another breed that's in demand. It's perfectly acclimatized in different geographical zones. It's distinguished by its compact build and early maturity. The Charolais breed, on the other hand, takes a little longer to fully mature, about 2 years. However, over a longer period of time, it acquires a stronger body of a distinctly meat type. The Limousin cows are hardy, yet they're completely unpretentious in care and have high fertility. In general, as you understand, there are many breeds, and this was only a small part of them. Each of them suits its own climatic conditions and stands out with some specific feature that can be useful and relevant to different farmers in different situations. If properly cared for, they'll give plenty of milk and good meat in any case, no matter what they are, and they'll not get sick. By the way, do you know what's the difference between feeding ordinary cows and bulls and giant individuals? The fact is that if a bull or cow was born huge, it's very likely that they have a significantly different genetic background. It's important to take the creature's blood for DNA analysis and see which hormones are predominant or conversely lag behind. In such cases, farmers do not use classic feeds, but personally make them from various useful ingredients. They make sure that their faithful friend grows and thrives without any problems. And now I'll show you the rarest cat breeds that will definitely surprise you. Sokoke. Let's start with the cat which is the great fortune to encounter. After all, many experts call the Sokoke the rarest cat breed in the world. These cats are also known as Sokoke forest cats and Kadzanzo. The cat has 2 homelands, Kenya and Denmark, all because the breed originated in Africa. It originated in Kenya on the basis of local African cats. These cats arrived in Denmark in 1984, after which the country began breeding them. In just a few years, the breed was recognized by the International Cat Federation. Sokoke cats have a striking appearance. First of all, this is a flexible and slender body as well as long paws. As for paws, the back of the Sokoke is longer than the front, so it seems that these cats walk unusual and strange. Sokoke are beautiful and interesting cats, but they have one drawback: a weak nervous system. Sokoke cats are prone to nervous disorders. These diseases are inherited. There are quite a few cat breeds in the world that would vie with the Sokoke for the title of rarest cat breed, but the Dragon Lee is an excellent candidate. While some consider the Sokoke the rarest cat breed in the world, others point specifically to these Chinese cats. Actually, it's because of China that these fluffy creatures got their dragon name. They have another name, Chinese Li Hao and Li Mao. Beside the fact that the Dragon Lee is an extremely rare breed, it's also quite new. As a breed, these cats debuted in 2004. But there are rarity and rarity. For example, in the native China, Dragon Lee are considered quite common animals, but outside the Middle Kingdom, they do not occur very often. In the United States alone, there are only 4 purebred Dragon Lee cats. That says a lot. Many people even believe that it's impossible to get a purebred Dragon Lee outside of China, and I can readily believe it. Surprisingly, for all its exclusivity, Dragon Lee looks almost like an ordinary mongrel. The same cannot be said about the next amazing cat in this episode, the Khao Mani from Thailand. One look is enough to understand this breed is truly unique. This is not a photoshopped image. These cats really do have different eyes, all because they have heterochromia, a feature in which the iris of the right and left eye has a different color. This feature, by the way, also occurs in humans. However, not all Khao Manis have heterochromia. It's just that this characteristic more often occurs in this breed than in other cats, and due to this, you can usually see photos of such odd-eyed, fluffy creatures on the internet. Khao Manis are playful and curious pets. They become very attached to their owners and cannot stand to be away from them for a long time. They love to purr and talk to their owner. I know many of you want to have such a beautiful and talkative cat, but it's very difficult to obtain. Purebred breed can be bought only in Thailand and in rare cases in Europe. La Perm. There are different kinds of cats. Some are very fluffy, some are smooth, short-haired, or even bald. And then there are also these cats, curly ones. Curly fur is the main distinguishing feature of the La Perm, an American cat breed. Surprisingly, for all their curliness, they hardly ever shed. La Perms are distinguished not only by their unusual fur, but also by their incredible character. This is the perfect cat. La Perm will hug, kiss, and rub every person it meets. It considers it its duty. If you pay any attention to a La Perm, it will consider you its best friend. These guys are absolutely non-confrontational and love everyone – adults, children, other cats, even dogs. The only pity is that these cats are rare. To find and get a real purebred La Perm is not an easy task. Lycoy. The Lycoy is a rather strange breed of cat. They are also called werewolf cats. It seems that the Lycoy has some kind of skin disease, but in fact it's a natural mutation, fixed by breeding. It makes the cat look strange, shabby, unkempt, and even a little creepy. But in fact, these cats are only scary on the outside. They themselves are affectionate, kind, and friendly. These pets are people-oriented, so they easily find common ground with any owner. Turkish Von. If you prefer big and fluffy cats to werewolves in the guise of a cat, then the Turkish Von might suit you. But don't forget, these cats are also rare, so you'll have to work hard to get this purebred fluffy creature. The Turkish Von is muscular, elegant, and large. Representatives of this breed are proportionally built and give the impression of a strong animal. The color of these cats is interesting. This is the case when all the typical cat colors can be in one cat – red, white, and black. By the way, the variety of colors can also be seen in the eyes. Like the Thai Cow Manny, Turkish Vons often suffer from heterochromia, so it's a common thing to meet this fluffy Turk with multicolored eyes. Another interesting feature of this cat is its love of water. Unlike many other pet carnivores who can't tolerate water, Turkish Vons are not just okay with it, but literally enjoy swimming. Havana Brown. The Havana Brown is a truly rare cat. The breed was bred in England in the middle of the last century by crossing between Siamese and domestic British black cats. After only a few decades, the population rapidly declined. Until the end of the 90s, the number of catteries breeding this breed didn't exceed 12, and the number of cats of the Havana Brown breed in the world didn't exceed 130. This cat would definitely top the list of endangered cat breeds. Fortunately, the breed has recently become more popular, and the Havana Brown is no longer in such a critical situation. But it still remains one of the rarest breeds in the world. A cat can become unique not only because of the small number and exclusivity of its breed. A particular individual can also become unusual. For example, a Maine Coon with a human face, a two-faced cat, or cats that have more social media followers than many top bloggers. Let's take a look at them too. Valkyrie. Unfortunately, or fortunately, animal-human crossbreeding experiments are forbidden. But if there were a hybrid between a cat and a human, it would look something like Valkyrie. This Maine Coon has become an internet star because of its unique appearance. After all, the cat does have a human face. The unusual appearance of this Maine Coon cat is emphasized even more by its impressive coloring – black smoke. Surprisingly, at the same time, Valkyrie's brothers and sisters have a normal appearance, so even experienced scientists can't explain the strange human appearance of the fluffy creature. Of course, Valkyrie does look very unusual, but to me, Venus looks even more unusual. You might get the feeling that there's some editing, Photoshop, or at least makeup involved, but no, this is a real creature who is called the two-faced cat. Venus is the owner of a rare genetic anomaly which has split the animal's muzzle exactly in half. On the left side, Venus is a redhead and her left eye is a bright blue, while on the right side the cat's black with a golden green eye. The reason for this amazing beauty is chimerism, in which there are genetically heterogeneous cells in one body. That is, in the body of Venus there are simultaneously genes of two cats, herself and her twin brother, which she apparently absorbed in the womb. Nala. This is the cat who the Guinness Book of World Records recognized as the most popular cat on Instagram. She has 4.5 million followers. Many bloggers worked for years making interesting content and spending money on advertising to reach such numbers. Well, it was enough to be born a beautiful cat. Nala's career was made possible by her incredibly expressive eyes, as well as her ability to pose for the camera. If there were a model in the world of cats, Nala would be the undisputed star among them. And now I'll show you the rarest and funniest animal moments filmed at the zoo. Many of us picture bears as extremely dangerous, angry, and aggressive predators, but they're actually gentle, At least this one is. Look how it greets visitors and waves at them. Then a congener comes up to it. Apparently, it's admonishing the bear about socializing with people. But the kind bear doesn't care. As soon as the congener leaves, the cute grizzly continues to wave at people. Primates are extremely intelligent creatures that regularly prove it in practice. For example, this female orangutan approached a pregnant woman, sat near the glass, and just couldn't take its eyes off her belly. It perfectly understands what pregnancy is, so it's very happy for the zoo visitor. And this primate went even further. The woman approached the male orangutan to show new addition to her family is coming soon. The orangutan could not congratulate the girl with words, but kissed her on the stomach through the glass. I think it's an amazing moment. Gorillas can surprise no less. These primates are well-trained in sign language. The legendary gorilla named Koko alone is worth a lot. This male also knows sign language. An orange slice was thrown into its enclosure, and the animal ate it, but then said in sign language that it should not be fed. It's incredible that the gorilla itself knows and understands the rules of the zoo and warns visitors not to break them again. But not all primates are so sweet and caring. There are some real pranksters, and there are usually more of them at zoos. Here's one of them. A group of tourists were in the petting zoo near a small fence and were watching the primates, when suddenly one of them decided to climb up to the tourists. The guy decided to take advantage of this to take a picture, but it was a cunning plan by the monkeys. One attacked him, and the other quickly took away the candy bar. It's a working scheme. Elephants are another intelligent animal. Like primates, they're good and quick at learning all sorts of things. For example, this elephant decided to become a drummer. It carefully watched the man play the instrument, analyzed everything, and decided to try it itself. The elephant moved the drum and beat a few rhythmic beats with its trunk. It sounded great to me. It remains to find a couple of elephant guitarists and an elephant vocalist, and they can start a rock band. Sometimes animals have to share the enclosures, not only with their relatives, but also with other species. And this can give us many unusual moments. For example, here in the enclosure there are many animals at once, including elephants and birds. For the baby elephant, it's a great reason to have fun chasing the birds, and for the birds, it's an extra reason to warm up a bit. It looks like a children's playground, doesn't it? And in this case, the games are no longer childish. These bears and wolves are sharing that enclosure. These animals sometimes chase each other in the wild, so it was inevitable that this would happen in captivity. However, here they do not pursue the goal of killing and eating each other. Their chase is friendly and fun. It's good that their enclosure is very spacious, so there's enough space for all of them to play. That's all, guys. Which moment surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.